like to call the meeting of the Rockingham County Board of Elections to order, a special meeting for February the 9th, 2022, o'clock at the Rockingham County Board of Elections building, 240 Cherokee County Road, Leesville, North Carolina. I'd like to welcome those of you who chose to come in and visit with us today as we take care of the business of the Board of Elections. And those of you who are listening via Zoom, we welcome you as well in the comfort of your home. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody for wearing masks. And at this point, I would ask for a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So
Okay, it's been moved and second, moved by member Hampton and second by member Cotton, that we approve the agenda. All in favor say aye. All opposed have the same right. You have approved the agenda.
Ophelia,
Yes,
may I interrupt just a second? I'm not getting what you're saying. Maybe we need to move closer or something. But I'm not getting any of what you said. I didn't vote on that because I didn't hear the motion.
okay. I'm gonna put you over here close to me.
Okay, good.
All right, is that good?
That's coming through very well. Thank you.
All right, so would you like us to back up and vote again so that we will know that?
I was assuming that was to accept the agenda,
Yes, it was.
and my vote would be aye.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you, sir. And just let me know if you're not hearing us. If I need to take off this mask and put on a thinner one, I can do that as well. I just
Okay,
need
well,
to
right now,
make,
that's good. Right now,
Okay.
that's good. I may not be able to hear some of the others, but we'll see.
okay.
Thank you.
If not, when they're speaking, I can just kind of take, I can be a banner. And I can just take it around so you can hear it. You want me to do that? Because I certainly want you, I know that you would be here if you could, and I certainly want you to hear everything that's going on in this room.
But
Today.
thank you very much.
And so before we turn this meeting over for the two things, the purpose that we're here for today is for the one-stop implementation plan update and to have a budget discussion. But before we do that, I want to charge our board members. I want to charge you about some things today. I want you to remain steadfast in your decisions that you've been making. And we may not make decisions today, but be steadfast in it. Listen carefully to each and every one of us in the room and be respectful. Have a conversation with other board members by asking in this room today so that we'll all understand what we need to know. How did we get to this point? We got to this point from our budget that was done not by everybody in this room. Only one person was on the board at that time. So I want to make sure that we think in terms of that, but the part at hand right now for us is to do what we can for the voters, to be sure that the voters can vote and feel comfortable in where they go to vote and not allow it just to be one voting site. That's really what we want to make sure happens.
Okay, we have people saying they can't hear that are on Zoom.
You got it turned all the way up?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're moving forward with, starting with Paula, and there'll be other comments later. but we'll start with Paula. She will talk with us about the one-stop implementation plan update.
Okay, at the last Board of Elections meeting, which was held on Tuesday, January the 25th, the board voted unanimously to approve.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, but I can't hear her. She's not coming through.
All right, at the Board of Elections meeting held on Tuesday, January the 25th, the board voted unanimously to approve a one-stop early voting plan that would consist of only one of the 4 early voting sites, which would be at the Board of Elections office with the uniform hours of a remote site. After the board meeting, there were some reservations about the plan. Chair Wright sent a letter on January the 27th to the Board of Commissioners Chair, Chair Berger, requesting $41,000 to be able to open the other 3 remote voting sites. On February 4th, I received a memorandum from the county manager, Lance Metzger, and each of you has a copy of that at your desk, as well as a copy of recommendations of where the money could be taken from in the Board of Elections current fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. Behind that, I have outlined budget line items that I believe the money may be able to be used to open 1 more site, possibly 2 more remote sites, depending, but not 3. But that will be ultimately up to this board, because there are other extenuating circumstances that could affect that. Right now, we have $49,035.48 left remaining in elections precinct staff. With the items, if you'll turn to page 3, did everyone have the opportunity to read the memorandum? Would you like for me to read it, or?
Well, you might want to read it
Okay,
for the purpose of the people who are here.
okay. The memorandum was addressed to me from Lance Metzger, dated February 4th, 2022, and is regarding additional funding for early voting. It has come to my attention that the Board of Elections is seeking additional funding from the Board of Commissioners in the amount of $41,000 to cover a reported budget shortfall to operate 4 one-stop voting sites during the primary elections. In reviewing the current elections department budget to actual report as of January 31st, 2022, taking into consideration lapsed salary and benefits this fiscal year, along with other expense line items that have available budget, the requested $41,000 can be found within the existing elections department budget. See attached. The Board of Elections will need to make a request to the County Board of Commissioners for their approval to transfer funds between expense line items for any purpose. The county's sound management practices in fiscal accountability requires requested transfers to be approved prior to accruing expenses. In addition, it has been brought to my attention that comments are circulating in the community that the county reduced the Board of Elections fiscal year 2021-2022 requested budget by $21,000. This is simply not accurate information. The Board of Elections submitted a budget request totaling $425,810, and the county suggested and adopted budget totaled $442,209. a $16,399 increase over the requested budget. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. And if I may, I will elaborate on that too. This board nor Board of Election staff has ever said that the Board of Commissioners reduced our budget. They did increase our budget. It was increased $10,000 for legal expense and $6,399 for FICA. Because in the budget, the FICA expenses that were appropriated for the fiscal year 2021, 2022 budget only figured in office staff. The additional $6,399 was FICA for the board members, temporary salaries, and election precinct workers for one stop. We are required to pay FICA for one-stop workers, but not election day workers. So that was the difference in the increase. What the Board of Elections submitted to the Board of Commissioners, again, was not reduced. And has never been said from this office that it was reduced. So I wanted to make sure that was out in the open. And so you would know what the increase was, because I've been asked that as well, what the $16,399 was for. Does anybody have a question, any questions so far?
Well, I do. I mean, I don't, not a question, but a comment. Although that's an increase of $16,000, $10,000 is money we can't touch because it's for our attorney. Correct. And we can't touch the FICA. So somebody's just doing, or the commissioners are just doing their job and giving their commitment to us is to make sure that they follow through on our budget. And that $16,000 is a part of what came about because of the separation of the attorney that we had at first. And the decision was made to separate the attorney from the Board of Elections. And we were told that we needed to look for an attorney. So just want to make sure that's in the clear as well.
Madam Chair, this is Tom Schofield. Just wanted to be sure that we all, I know we're aware, but I want to be sure that anyone listening is aware, this board nor the staff actually participated in pulling this budget together. As I understand it, it was the previous budget preparation. Is that a correct statement?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
have one board member that was.
I was a part of it.
Member Cole was a part, he did participate in the budget for fiscal year 2021, 2022.
Okay, thanks.
Who actually prepared the budget?
Member Totten wants to know who actually prepared the budget.
I do not know who actually prepared the budget. I have been told by county staff that two prior members were the ones that was putting the budget together and gathered the information from the county.
Did the budget pass unanimously?
If you will also look at your, and the question, Tom, she wanted, Member Totten wanted to know if the budget passed unanimously. The first time the budget passed was dated March 22nd, and you should have a copy of that, March 22nd, 2021. The budget passed with a vote of 3-2, with members Ferguson and Reese voting no. Member Reese stated that she was going to vote no due to the figures, and Member Ferguson stated that her opposition was because she wanted to see actual figures on conferences and other things. And then there was another meeting held on April the 20th, 2021, regarding the Board of Elections budget. And another motion was made. The motion was made by Member Reese, seconded by Secretary Pohl, to submit the Board of Elections 2021-2022 budget as is without the justifications, and the motion carried unanimously.
Now, my understanding, Paula, is that was the second review of the budget and it was passed.
Yes,
It was a later vote, right?
the second meeting was on April the 20th of 2021.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Members, do you have any other questions for Paula at this time concerning the past budget or the budget that we're working with as of right now?
That's one question.
Member Hampton is speaking now. We just-
Oh, I'm losing you guys again.
Tom, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Paula,
On this sheet, which is the number. No. Tom,
Yes.
okay, what does this sheet represent?
All right, page 3.
Yes.
All right, this is actually showing you, Mr. Metzler had made suggestions on where we might be able to remove some of the funding or to be able to transfer it into the elections precinct staff. And what I actually itemized were the things that I thought were a possibility. One being the lapse in regular salaries for 15,000. And the reason why there is a lapse salary is there was no one in the deputy director's position for the first half of the fiscal year. And it would be the same thing for health insurance, and Fica would be for the deputy director. And those 3 items is about $22,500. And then we do have $200 for travel that has not been used, 3,000 for board training, and 3,000 for staff training. And the reason why that has not been used is because our conferences for this fiscal year have been done remotely instead of on site. And it was put in the budget as actually being on site. So there is a possibility that we have $28,700. Some of the other things that he laid out, we could possibly use. I don't see that. One being our temporary salaries, because I use those getting ready for elections. We are actually using some this week. We use that money if we have to do recounts or anything that the State Board of Elections may require us to do after the election, before the election, and during the election, if we have to bring in extra workers. Another thing that was put in here was service maintenance, 2,000. I don't feel comfortable doing that as well. We actually had problems yesterday with our heating system in the workshop. A part has been ordered for that. Right now, we've got to call in for our copier because it's making red lines on our papers. So I may have to use some of that money. He also suggested using 500 equipment repair. I may need that. Postage. This, we don't know how much we'll have to mail out for as absentee ballots. We also have to mail out information to all of the homes that are in the county to make sure when our MAT teams go out that the registration forms are out there, that people have had ample time to fill them out. So postage is something I don't want to pull from either. And general supplies, because we're going through right now and there are things that we see that we are going to need. And if I pull from those budget line items and I need other items, I won't have anywhere to get that money. So this, what I've laid out on page 3 are the things that we could possibly pull from. I mean, I know definitely the first 3 items and the latter 3 items. I'm okay with that because we do still have some money remaining. I have paid for the registration fees and I have accounted for some of the other things we would need to do. But anyway, but I do not see where we would have 41,000 in our current budget to be able to pull from.
Paul, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Based on what you said before, we could have a maximum of 2, possibly, if we squeezed everything, we could possibly have 2 sites available. Is that right?
Yes, sir. But, that of course is up to this board, what it would like to do.
But I'm saying with the money that's available, we could possibly have 2 sites. But I didn't hear you mention, one of my major concerns is communicating to our people what we're doing and where they're to vote, or where they'll have the opportunity to vote. Everyone will have the opportunity to vote on election day, but early voting, we need to be sure we are planning to spend money to communicate that whatever we do, because whatever we do is going to be a change on what we've done in the past. Is that correct?
That is correct. And that would be
And I didn't hear you mention any additional cost for that communication, because that's we haven't figured out what we got to do, but it's definitely not going to be free.
that is correct.
Okay,
But
thank you.
we would want to do a press release and get all this information out. Once the final decision is made, we would want to make sure that all of the citizens in Rockingham County would be made aware of where the new early voting sites would be. We would need to get the information out quickly. And that's another thing with the postage. But we would also try to get that out to the newspapers, the TV stations, the radios, wherever we can get it out, that it would be communicated. But there would be a cost involved in that.
I also want to say, Member Schoolfield She chose not to take the 500 from a communication suggestion because there was only 1,500 in there. And it was suggested that we take 500, and that 500 is not on the sheet that she said would be available. So
Right.
we have that 1,500, which seems like a drop in the bucket to me for communications, but leaving it at 1,500 makes it easier for us to be able to do something to be sure that our voters know where the one stops will be. Any other discussion, board members, on that topic?
Oh, what is our drop dead date on getting that information?
All right, Member Schofield, what Member Totten asked for was there a drop dead date to get this information out as soon as possible? The sooner, the better. In fact, we should have already sent something out, but we need to decide what we're going to do before getting that communication. Did you hear that, Tom?
I did,
Member
yes.
Schofield, or Secretary Schofield?
Okay, I also want to remind the board members and the public as well that we did not realize that we could go in and move money until we were told to do it at the 11th hour. I sent Paula, our director, to ask, what can we do about getting more money? And the first response was, they didn't think we'd get it. And I'm not mentioning any names behind that. So I did ask her to go back. I said, please go back and see what we can do to open up more sites, to get more money. And then she was told that it would be okay to ask. So once we decided as a board to send a letter to the chair of the commissioners board, whom I've not heard from yet in response to that letter. But that's neither here nor there. It ended up that Paula did get some information from someone, and that's what we were about. We wanted to make sure we heard from somebody so that we could move forward in a timely manner. So it was put out there, but no one told us that we could move money from our own budget until when we got the information the Friday before the board meeting, the commissioner's board meeting. Paula got the memorandum at that point. So we're moving forward with it as quickly as we can in hopes to get out all the information that needs to be out before the vote. Any other discussion?
Let me ask a question that I know Member Schofield is also raised some concern about moving all of those people who are going to vote early to this one site. Do you think it may require additional personnel? Changes of any kind, support that you don't usually have? Is there going to be a cost to using this one facility?
There's a possibility. I did increase the staff if we did have just one site. Would we need more temporary assistance? There's a possibility. Don't know, because we have done the one-stops here solely in the past for municipal elections. I have gone, I'm trying to do research now because I had someone ask when the last time was that we did not have 4 sites. And we've gone back to 2010. Do I think it could be done during a primary election? Yes. Using the statistical data from the state board of elections, primary elections, or I don't know how voters view them, but usually it's around 20 to 28% of the registered voters that show up for primary elections. The 2020 primary election, we had roughly, and I got it on my desk, it's about maybe 27% of the registered voters, and the amount of registered voters was around 59,000 and some odd number. So if you say 60,000 and 1/3 showed up, you're looking at 16,000 people. That was during a presidential election. This is not a presidential election, it's just a general election. We do have seats for, of course, the U.S. House, the U.S. Senate, the North Carolina Senate, North Carolina House, the district attorney, sheriff, commissioners, school board, but it's not a presidential. But even during the presidential, we had less than 30% of the registered voters to show up for the primary election. So, and what the requirement used to be on one-stop voting sites was you open a site for every 20,000 voters. So the most we were supposed to have open was 3, but we had 4. But that requirement is no longer. I don't know when that requirement's taken away. I have asked that question and they're still trying to research it as of yesterday. I asked that question, it's been about 2-3 weeks ago, and they're still trying to find out when that requirement was removed. Do I think it's possible to run 9, 10, 12,000 people through this office during early voting? It's possible. During the municipal election, we actually had 11 people show up in almost the same amount of time. 5 of them was curbside, 6 of them came in to vote. We had at the time 6 workers working at the time. In 10 minutes, all 11 people had voted and were on their way out the door. With good staff, and we have excellent staff, it can be.
Along the lines of your question, Member Hampton, the county manager was asking that we take $4,300 from the temporary salaries. And if you'll notice, board members, she did not include that as a suggested line item to do. Because I guess she's unsure about what might happen with having to bring in temporary staff. So I just want to call that to your attention, that it's not on this sheet, that $4,300 for that reason. So make sure you make a note of that, because you're probably going to have people asking you questions about why didn't we do it? And we pretty much are looking to our director, because she is the person who knows what happens with the bills and what the trend is and that sort of thing, more so than any of us. So I just wanted to put that out there so you know that 4,300 she felt was not something that needed to happen. And I just noticed that as I was looking at this, and I had gone through my own and made my own notes and put in everything that was being asked for us to look at from
our county manager so that it will help to move things along and give you a better understanding.
Paula, there's been some discussion of the possibility of running a second site. Is that a recommendation or is that just an explanation of the budgetary limitations?
If the board would like to open a second site for those that, I know that the question has been said that there are voters that are 15 to 17 miles from.
Paula, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, there are voters, it has been, emails as well as calls have been made to me stating that there are some voters that would be 15 to 17 miles away from their voting site that they're used to. And again, you know, if we do have the 28,000, if this board wants to approve a budget amendment. But again, if you will look at the data that was collected for the last early voting in 2018, which is the same type of election that we're having in May, hopefully. We did have all 4 sites open. It was in the western part of the county, and I'm sorry, it's on page 28 of the packet that's got the revenues recommended budget, the very thick packet that's stapled together on page 25. The western one-stop site had 288 voters during early voting. The Reedsville site had 275 voters. The Eden site had 446 voters. This site, Wentworth, had 1,665 voters. But if you'll also note, the furthest away, which is the western site, precinct, the Hogan precinct, 27 of those voters came here to vote. 25 voted at their western site. Huntsville, 29 came here to Wentworth, 49 voted in western. Matrimony, which is the Stoneville area, 58 came to the Board of Elections office, 35 voted at western. New Bethel, 94 came here, 11 went to western. And then we had 64 from Madison, Mayodan area that came here, and 137 at the western precinct. And if you look at the Reedsville Ironworks, we had 79 to come here to vote. We had 12 that voted at the Reedsville site. Lincoln, we had 163 to come here, 10 to the Reedsville site. McCoy, we had 147 to come here, 68 in the Reedsville site. Mall Street, 297 came here, and 95 to the Reedsville site. And then Southeast, which is the Williamsburg area, 63 came here, 41 voted at Reedsville. So they went past their voting sites and came here. And I asked a couple of people that voted, if you have a choice of voting where would you go? And I've had numerous individuals said they would come here because they trust that their vote counted. If you're gonna drive past your remote site and drive out of the way to come here. And they said, yes, I know it's counting. I said, well, it's gonna count at your remote site as well. But, and it didn't matter as far as age. I mean, I also looked at the age. I had also been told, well, the older individuals have a harder time coming to the Wentworth site. Well, the statistics don't support that either. Ages 51 to 70, 688 came here to vote, and the 71 plus 621 actually came here to vote. So, I mean, I look at dollars. I also look at the voters. I understand they're used to 4 remote sites. And I know as a new director, you know, I'm trying, you know, I've been said I'm trying to change things. Sometimes change is good, sometimes change is bad. But I look at dollars and cents and what makes sense. And when I saw that we had $49,000 to work with to pull off one-stop early voting and election day voting. And I was working with the budget anyway. I knew that was not possible for 4 sites. I would rather let the board and the public know that ahead of time than to put election, go through the election process and have to go before the Board of Commissioners to ask for $41,000+ after the fact. I see that as a bad way of conducting business. That's not something I like to do. I'd rather be resourceful and try to prevent something from happening than to let it happen and have egg on this department's face. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. It doesn't matter that not enough money was appropriated. The thing that matters is that everybody has the opportunity to vote. We will have all 15 sites open election day. But it comes down to what we can feasibly and economically afford. Because I don't want to cost the taxpayers any more money than what they should have to pay. And the voters are our taxpayers. So that's my #1 goal, is to stay within the budget. If this board wants to open a second site, it will happen.
That would put us in the position of having to decide where.
Yes,
And no matter how you look at this, you know, choosing between Eden and Reedsville, or Madison and Eden, we offend somebody, we leave some voters out. I just don't think consideration of the second site makes sense at this point. You know, sometimes in life, situation is simply a situation. My young soldiers used to tell me, "Colonel, it is what it is." You know, and that's where we are. We're stuck with this budgetary shortfall. And frankly, I don't think we should engage in anything that's going to offend voters in any part of the county. My second concern, and I've said this before, is low voter turnout. And Madam Chairman, I think that no matter what we do going forward, we have to be concerned with whether or not we can do anything to increase voter turnout. That in itself will reduce the cost per vote, but I think we need to do that. Tom? So I guess my point is, I would suggest to the board, I don't know if we need to official action on this since we've already agreed to the one site. I would suggest that we simply go forward and do the things necessary to make this one site work.
I certainly support that, Darrell. I think we've got a good challenge ahead of us because, you know, we had 2,700 people that did use early voting, and I think we need to plan on at least 6,000 or 7,000 and be sure we can handle that in our current, the office area. It will accommodate that, and we can get the people there. That would give us 50% more people than 50 to 60% more than we actually had at our most recent early voting for the whole county. So I don't see how we can open up, and confirming what you were just saying, I can't see how we can open up one more site and not alienate people in Eden or Reedsville or Mazzalette.
Yes. Member Totten is making a comment.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Tom, on your thought process, but you have to consider the type of election as well as to how you're going to predict or determine your turnout.
Well, yeah, we don't know what it's gonna be.
Right.
It could very easily be double what we've actually experienced in early turnout.
Which we would hope that would happen, but we have no way of forecasting that really to do what it's.
No, but we can plan for the, I would hope that we would plan for more than we think we're gonna get and hope that we are wrong.
And I think the fact, like Roman said, that we've already voted on for one location, but one elections office, I think it's gonna cause even more turmoil if we backpedal and do something different.
That's a good point.
But you also have to remember that you guys asked me to send a letter to the county commissioners and ask for money so that we could satisfy the voters of Rockingham County with 4 sites. So I'm just bringing that back to your remembrance. Paula has told us that she could find, if we make a decision, 28,700. Who says we have to stop at that and still not ask the commissioners to fund the rest of it so that we could satisfy the voters of Rockingham County? I'm just saying, just because we are at the dilemma where we are, we should see it to the end, and then we can, our hands are tied. If we can't get the amount of money that we need to have to open up the 4 sites, I know you are concerned, and I am concerned about the money that has been spent in the past, but we made this step to ask for the money. They made a step to have us look for some money within our budgets. Against my better judgment, I don't feel like we should be the ones that have to give up money. I feel like the money should come from someplace else, but I'm on this board with you, and once we make a decision, I'm not gonna say, well, I didn't agree with it. The majority will rule when it happens. We don't have to make a decision today, though. We're here just to update and have a discussion. And once we find out what's gonna happen after this, if we use this $28,700 and ask them for the rest of it, so we can open up all of the sites, so nobody's feelings will be hurt, and everybody will have the opportunity from every corner of Rockingham County to go where they are accustomed to vote. And I know that's what our director has asked. She said one more site will do this. And I think she has a comment right now.
Yes, the only thing is we have to submit
Exactly.
our one-stop plan by next Friday, February 18th. it has to be submitted no later than Friday, February the 18th. We have a board meeting Tuesday. Today is Wednesday, the 10th. So we're at our drop dead date or drop dead deadline on what we're gonna be able to do. What it sounds like to me, and I could be hearing this totally different, is 1 or 4. No, nothing in between. Because it would be unfair to make, and it would be very difficult to make a decision between Western, Eden,
Reasonable and mean.
and Reedsville, because there are people that already drive 15 miles on the eastern part of the county. Because their one stop site is only 5.5 miles from here. So they are already driving more than 15 miles. Because there's not a site that's closer to the eastern part. But am I correct in?
I think you're correct. You talked about the western part, which you said in that map is 12.
Yeah, but the eastern, if you'll look at the map. Western has a site, but the eastern part of the county. You're looking for something, you can never find it. Yes. See, like the individuals in Lincoln.
Yeah.
They're already driving, these people are driving, if they're going to their one-stop site, they're possibly driving over 15 miles from this corner to here.
Mhm.
Madam Chair, I have a
Yes,
question. Hello,
Yes,
to Madam Chair,
Yes.
you're suggesting that we would go and ask the county commissioners for some additional funding to do all 4 sites. Is that what you're saying?
that's what our letter, I mean, I thought that's what you asked me to do when I sent the letter to them to ask for all 4 sites to be open. And I'm just saying,
My question is this: we were not successful in getting that through, and we do have a deadline. Do you think there's any possibility that we could have it, we could make the request and get a response back from them in time to make a decision? You said the 18th, did you, Paula?
yes, sir.
You know, I don't think there's, I don't think we're gonna get, personally, I don't think we're gonna get that in a timely manner. We may eventually get it, but I don't think we'll get it by the 18th. I think it's,
Madam Chairman,
if you ask not, you get not.
well, we've already asked.
Well, they did find a way, they did give us permission to move some money. We didn't know we could move money, or we would have done it from the start. They did let us know that we could move it. Later.
while both options make sense from a fiscal point, I feel like you have to consider availability of the polling sites for the handicapped people, for the older people. And I agree that we should be fiscally concerned about the money, but I also think that we need to be concerned about those people who absolutely will not drive to the Board of Elections office, and we will probably lose voters as a result.
Well, they've still got the choice, of course, Sarah, for their regular voting on election day. And that's gonna be close by, so if transportation is an issue, or if, just the amount of distance, that can be corrected if they want to vote to get. I think our bigger problem is the fact that we got so few people voting.
And initially,
So,
but
I don't know how we understand. Madam Chairman, it sounds like we're maybe almost at a point of decision, are we? What
No,
do we
we're
need
not.
to do?
I don't think so. Not me.
Madam Chairman, I wanted to point out to you, they've not given us permission to move budget items.
I know, we have to take it back to them, but they started the process.
What process?
They started the process by sending us, responding and sending us where we could move the
My
money.
point is that
Against my better judgment, taking it from us.
what he says in the memo is not a guarantee that the commissioners will agree to the transfer of budget items. That's what has to happen next if we go forward with this. I think we need to be concerned also about our own fiscal responsibility
Right.
by accepting these cuts in our $28,000 cut out of our budget items. Are we subjecting ourselves to the risk of not being able to comply with something as we go forward?
And I agree with you. I agree with you. If I had it my way, we wouldn't take anything from our budget. We would simply ask them to find the money for us.
I think we've gotten there.
I need to hear it.
Well, if the county manager is suggesting that we do that, to me, that would imply that it would be approved, would it not? I mean, I'm just saying that based on, they're not willing to give us the money, so we're having to take it from our money. I would consider that basically an approval. I mean, I could be wrong about that, Thurman, but I mean, they don't want to give us the money, but they're making suggestions as to how we can come up with the money.
If I might,
I think Thurman made a really good point that, we would have to go back to them, but I believe that would probably happen, but I don't think that's the wise thing to do, to take money that we don't know for sure what we're gonna need going forward, in other instances, and jeopardize that to open, 2 more sites or 3 more sites. And to me, the only question is, what capacity do we have at the Board of Elections? If we had a significant increase over the last several elections that we've had, what do we need to do in order to be able to accommodate that? And we've got time if we start planning now for a fairly substantial number of people. To me, that's the only challenge that I see. Madam Chair, my question is, what is our next move that we need to make? Do we need to reaffirm our decision from a couple of weeks ago? Do we need to cancel that and have another motion? I'm not sure what the procedure is.
Well, as soon as we find out, of course, we were told in that memorandum what we needed to do in order to get done, move money. We scheduled a meeting as quickly as we could, right now. The county commissioners knew or know that we scheduled a meeting because they said it in their meeting on Monday night. That the board of elections is planning a meeting sometime this week. They didn't know exactly what the date was, but they felt like we could work it out. Now, I want to give them the opportunity to put the money where the mouth is. Because that's what I feel like, if we stay the course and ask them to give us the 41,000, if we want to decide not to move our money, then we're left with that one site. And if they don't give us any money, we're left with the first site that we chose. But I think we need to push forward. And good luck with that, because the letter went to the chair and the chair has not responded to this chair. But we got a response once again in the 11th hour, Friday before their board meeting. So I'm just saying,
It's the 21st.
okay, can I finish?
Sure,
Um,
absolutely. Your
Uh,
floor.
okay, so I need for us to follow through with what we asked for, instead of allowing this to just kind of make us make a hasty decision at this point.
Well, Madam Chair, may I speak?
Yes, sir.
You said that to make a hasty decision, we have been waiting for a couple of weeks from when you sent that letter out, right?
And not a couple of weeks, it was like a week.
Week, okay. And their next meeting is the 21st. Do you think we could get them to call a special meeting?
I wish we could get them to do something. If we respond to them and tell them what we have decided by our discussion today, we would hope that they wouldn't hold us up. We would hope that they would do as we did. I don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine, that they should be given an opportunity. And then we will see where we end up. None of us on this board, I've had experience in doing a budget because I served on the school board. And I know what a budget looks like, and I know that you have to move money, and I sent somebody to find out if we could use some of our money or move some money around, and we were told, we didn't think that would be a good idea. But then at the last minute, they tell us it's a good idea. So I'm just saying, if we go back to them, tell them what we have decided today, see if we hear something from them, then we can make a decision. We'll call another meeting if we have to stand where we started if we need to, if we don't get the money, and take into consideration what all of you have said. That the one stop that we decided on, and it will be because we have no other recourse. It will not be because we are trying to suppress the voters. We're doing everything we can to get the money to open up those 4 sites. That's what the chair wants to say. But I'm just one side.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
members of the board, let me share with you my thought process as we have sat here and listened to many things that took place. Nowhere have we looked at what happened in the election in 2020. 2020 was the strongest election in Rockingham County for many, many years. Now, my question is about that, and it's frustrated by, more importantly, the lack of a communication device or system that we can connect with our voters. We don't have a radio station that will reach to the southern states and reach them. We don't have a TV station that has the same problem due to the lack of volume, wattage and such as that. And it's a community station based in Reidsville. But what are the numbers and how will they be affected by the people that voted in 2020 that didn't vote in 2018? And then all of a sudden, it's not all of a sudden, it's 2 years later, and the people are 2 years older. And they might not have transportation to get from here to Western Rockingham. So the consequences are, maybe we ought to take a look at the 2020 election and see what that plays into this as possible numbers. Not saying it'll hit the numbers, but people have voted, and they have voted with an attitude, my vote counts. And that being the case, I don't think we should be in a position to have to deny everybody in the county free access to the vote as they have had in the past. My 2 cents.
Madam Chair,
Yes. Member Todd.
another thing that you have to consider too is that if people don't vote because they have to come to that board, it could simply affect the outcome of the primary. there could be people who would have won the primary that didn't because people who would have voted for them won't make the trip. So, I mean, there's a whole lot of things to consider here, just not money. Availability to vote, outcome of the election, and fiscal is very important. But I mean, we asked for money to, perform what we need to do during the primary. And if we just give up, then that can be perceived as the public as we don't really care. You have to think about public opinion as well. There's a lot to consider.
So board members, where do we go from here? I think our discussion has taken a little over an hour. And if it's okay with everybody, we can move forward. If you want to make a decision, if you want us to look at what Paula is suggesting, that she could let go of her budget. I need some direction.
I make a motion that we table this until we're able to get with the county commissioners or Lance Metzler or both to see if we can get additional monies to make it happen as far as having more than one voting site or primary.
So there's a motion on the floor. Second.
Second.
Item has been moved and properly second that we move forward with touching bases with the county commissioner to find out if we can get more monies to offset, you are saying offset the 28,000 that she said that we can give up, or the full 41,000.
Yes.
What would we be requesting?
We're requesting $41,000 is what I would say, but we all have to still talk about it, but we still have the 28, we can still do that. If our director suggests that you can give up the 28 something, that won't throw us into a tailspin if something happens to come up. We need a commitment that somebody's gonna help us if we use our $28,700 or wherever it is on that page, and we have to go back to them again. It has been said, board members, if we spend this money, we're not getting any more. One of the board members, commissioners said it in a work meeting. So I'm just saying to you, if you got your plan already going, that's where it's gonna be. I just don't think we need to just sit back and not try to get the money for the voters of Rockingham County to make sure that we have a site for everybody here in Rockingham County. And if they say, no, we're not gonna give you the money, we probably will not, or I would not support taking our $28,700 and opening up a second site. I will not support that, and probably won't support us now that we're, after we're seeing everything, on one site. So then it will not be unanimous, it will have to go to the state. I mean, I'm just saying, I would prefer to ask and see. And this time, since I did not get a response from the chair, since the county manager did respond, and I don't know whether he responded because of the direction of the chair, we can respond to his memorandum because it came from him. And there is a motion on the floor, and I know you didn't tell this date.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
Thomas Schofield here. Question, the deadline that we have of the 28th, should we consider part of this motion, then having a response back from the commissioners one way or the other by a certain day?
okay, yes, I'm sure that we will do that when we sit down and get our letter together, but I think it's the 18th is when she has to have it into the state board.
The 18th, okay.
The 18th. And
And we're meeting on the fifteenth, I believe. And
we're meeting on the fifteenth, yes, sir.
so can we maybe amend the motion to say that we want to table this until our fifteenth meeting? And then have to make a decision then?
And in our letter should be
We have made a
indicated,
decision, right? We got a motion that's been approved to go to one site.
right, we do.
You
And
know, we wouldn't have to do anything else if we haven't heard from the fifteenth. Correct?
Let's give them an opportunity to respond.
Madam Chairman, I agree with member Schoolfield, we need to set a date for a response. So I would amend the motion, Tom, I think this is what you have in mind, to amend, the motion to say that we should have a definitive response from the commissioner by
And I agree
15th.
with that.
so he's giving you a friendly amendment.
Yeah.
And he wants to go back and say, you send a letter to them, give them a definitive date to get back in touch with us.
No, we want a definitive response. from them,
Response,
whether it comes from the county manager or the chair of the board of commissioners, we need a definitive response. Yea, they're gonna give us the money, maybe they're not. So there's a limit to that confusion.
that's a great idea.
I agree.
Which may take us back to where we started, and that's fine. I have no issue with that.
If you need a second on that, amendment, I would second it.
Okay, so
We already done.
it has been moved and properly seconded that we give a definitive date for them to get back in touch with us, whether it be,
I think your motion is that we proceed with it, by communicating with the board of commissioners to request the $41,000. And that we get a definitive response from them by the 15th.
Yes, that's correct.
okay, and then motion is second, and what he stated. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposers have the same right. You have decided to do, what Thurman just said.
One more shot.
Okay. And we'll move forward now. We'll move on to our next thing on the agenda. Thank you, board members, for all this good conversation. So next on the agenda is, Paula, you're gonna talk to us about our budget. And that may take even longer than what we started out with.
Yeah, we would take a break, recess, like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
recess.
That'll be good.
Okay.
So right now, we'll take 5 minutes or whatever we might need to do. And some of us might want to look over the budget.
Take a 5-minute break, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom, for being patient with us.
I was just gonna check.
Where I pulled, I went in and just plugged in the numbers that they were gonna take us. Oh, my God. He needs some music. He does that walking me on the phone too, so. Tom, are you there?
I am now, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay, I did receive an email from the Assistant County Manager late yesterday afternoon with the budget calendar, and you have a copy of that. We are actually having a virtual meeting this Friday to go start the process of the budget. I have been working with the budget for a while now, and that is how I found out about the budget shortfall. But I tried to type it in big print, and it should be in, yeah, it's behind the agenda. Yes. Do we want to wait for Tom?
Yeah.
But the deadline to submit the budget is March 11th. So we only have a couple of weeks. But I'll just start at the very beginning. If you look at your last page, this is what I actually received from finance. And that is the projection totals as far as compensation for our 3 staff members, the health insurance, FICA, and that FICA, again, that total is without the board members, temporary staff members, and 1 stop workers, but that is included in the budget. But the numbers for FICA, retirement, unemployment, and workman's comp, this is where the numbers come from. So starting with the budget, like I said, the regular salaries that was given to me, they are proposing a slight increase. But that, of course, is ultimately up to the board of commissioners.
Did you have a percentage?
2% is what I was told. Okay, so moving down to 4111019 board members. I have the monthly salaries for each of you, as well as election pay for the 1 election we will have in the 2022-2023 fiscal year, and that will be the general election, which will be held in November. And the total I have on that is $14,400.
Paula, may I interrupt just 1 second?
Yes, sir.
I looked back at the form that you gave me, you had given us earlier on what was budgeted, and that was cut by about $1,500. Was that the intention?
Well, originally, that when I was doing the budget, I was not looking. Usually we have 2 elections, but we will only have 1. The $1,500 would have been the election pay for 2 elections, but we're only having 1.
Okay, so that was an intentional reduction.
That's correct. That wasn't
Right,
intentional.
gotcha.
You'll
Okay.
also see that I removed the earlier submission. You'll see that I removed the overtime salaries for staff. I have been told that there is no overtime pay anymore. It is strictly comp time. So that has been removed as well, and that was from the original numbers that I had given to you earlier, and that's around $6,500.
And that is using the state or the county policies or the state policies, is that what you're saying?
That is county, Rockingham County policy.
Okay.
Okay,
And who gave you that, who told you that there is no more overtime pay? The person.
finance and
Is someone
county
in
manager as
finance?
well.
Okay.
But that is a policy now, is comp time instead of overtime.
So you don't get paid, you just take off that pay, that's what you're saying.
Correct, yes. And staff, that is not me. I do not get comp time, I do not get overtime. It doesn't matter if y'all can work
Because
to
yours
death.
is salary and theirs is.
Theirs is hourly. Now their comp time for every hour they work, they get time and a half comp time. So if they work 1 hour, it's 1.5 hours comp time. Okay? All right, is there any more questions on the first two items? Okay, so moving down to 4111-020 temporary salaries. That is the part-time employees that come in and work in this office. That is either with election tasks, special projects, to do recounts. We have voter registration booths to get out information to the public, such as setting up at the different fairs that they may have, the libraries and other functions. And we estimated about $6,000 for that. And then moving on, and this is the hot topic. 4111-021 elections precinct staff for the 2022 general one-stop officials. I do have 4 one-stop sites in here with 56 officials for those 4 sites at $56,952. And then 15 precincts for election day with 175 officials. And so y'all know the difference between the two. One-stop workers are paid an hourly rate. Election day, they are paid a flat rate. And election day, taxes do not come out. One stop is just like they're working anywhere else. You know, taxes and everything comes out. That's the difference between the two. So when we get down to FICA, you're going to see FICA is 7.65% of the total salary. The FICA for election or precinct officials only comes out of the one-stop officials, not election day precinct officials.
Why do we make, excuse me, Paul, why do we make, why is that? Why do we make that distinction between those two elections?
I do not have an answer for you. That's just what I've
Where
been
does the
told.
instructions come from?
I do not know. Oh, that
Does it come
is,
from the state or the county?
I do not know the answer, but I can find out.
Okay.
I'm making a note here, so I will find that out.
I would be concerned about the legal aspect of that because they're doing the same thing.
Well, if everyone's doing it, it's the same thing. But anyway, the total for election precinct staff is $92,242. So are there any other questions on that?
Did I lose you, Paula?
Nope, I'm still here.
Hello?
We're here.
Paula, I lost you.
I'm calling him back.
Hello?
Okay, can you hear me now?
I'm asking too many questions. You got cut off.
Okay, all right.
No, we didn't do that.
No, I don't know where it stopped, but anyway, we're moving on. 4112-110 health insurance. And the health insurance is dental, medical, and vision. This amount is provided by the county. That's on the last page of this packet. So that is a fixed amount of $34,008.
Right. Can we back up to the election precinct? I'm not sure whether you got my question or not. Why do we make a distinction between the two elections?
I said I've answered that, said I'll have to get back to you. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. And we did increase that by almost 32% over what I saw as the budget
You're correct, because there was not enough money included in the 21-22.
Right, right. Okay,
That's how I caught that we were not gonna have enough money for the 4 sites for the primary, one stop, and general election. That's what ran up the red flag and started all of this.
right.
Okay. All right, so going down to FICA, you'll see the full-time staff was given to us from finance, but what has been added is the board members, the one-stop officials, and the temporary staff members for $16,427.
But that's a cut of about 6%, right?
It should not be a cut. Let me look, well, let me look.
That's okay, we're gonna have to come back this way again, I'm sure.
Okay,
We got a bunch, all of us are probably familiar with working with budgets, but you know, this is different from what I've ever worked with, so, you know, and I'm new, so I won't claim ignorance.
okay, all right. All right, so moving on to 4112-310, regular retirement. And that is retirement for the 3 staff members during the office, and that amount was provided by the county in the amount of $16,692. Next item is 4112-410, unemployment. Again, that number was provided by the county in the amount of $780. The next item is 4112-510, workers' comp. Is for the 3 staff members. Again, this amount was provided by the county in the amount of $195. And it just occurred to me, Tom, to answer your question on FICA, that's the $6,399 that was added, and what the county did is they took the election precinct staff total, did not reduce it by the election day people, and multiplied it by the 7.65%, so that made the difference, why it was much higher last time than what it was this time.
Okay,
So that's the difference. Okay. Moving on to 412-3010, miscellaneous professional. That is for the live stream of the Board of Elections meeting. Right now, our contract with him, we have 12 regular scheduled meetings at $275 a meeting, which is $3,300. We are also proposing, if this board so chooses, of adding 3 special called meetings for maybe budgetary reasons or meetings that we may want to have it televised. I would not recommend absentee board meetings because they could take long, but some of them last 10-15 minutes. But more of the more detailed information when we're trying to get it out to the public on our special call meetings. So I did propose 3 of those. Again, that would be $275 a meeting with a total of $825. So the total for that line item, $4,125. Any questions? Okay, moving on to the next item, 412-3017, legal. That is for our attorney, Brian Farrell through Keenan and Craver. at $10,000.
Have they concurred in
No, but
that?
they have not, because, I mean, I have not gone back to him, but if that's what we have, but I can get with him and make sure that everything is on board. Okay,
Make it a lot easier, instead of arguing count.
yes.
How much have we paid them on the current budget?
Right now, we have. Okay,
Around 3,800.
we've paid him about $3,800. I mean, yeah, so we're a little over 6,000 still left for me. We've had 2 meetings where he's been in, and that took a chunk of the money. But we're not at the 50% yet.
What's the end date for that?
For his services, June 30th. It's the same as our fiscal budget so far. Okay, moving down to 412-4010 utilities, and you see that there is a,
Let me
yes,
back you up one.
okay,
I think we need to add some money to this.
okay. What was your,
Can you repeat that for me?
I'm sorry. I think we need to add some money to the lawyers.
Paul, I'm not getting that question. I'm not hearing that question.
Farrah's not on the job.
Tom, I'm saying, I think we need to add some money to the lawyers line item. I would suggest 5,000 or 15,000 total.
They're not going to have several requests at the end,
Okay,
that's why we do virtual.
but let's make a note of that.
okay.
Okay,
Yeah, you want to save discussion until we get through the whole thing?
I would, yes, please.
I said 3,800 is a lot of money for two.
Well, there was other things too. We had public records requests that added up to almost 500. So, and that, I'll send y'all a more up-to-date sheet on what we've spent. I think the last one I sent out was the middle of January, so I'll get another one out to you, so you can see what has been expended.
Well, that's pretty stiff number too.
Well, it's, yeah, no, he was, because the meetings lasted a long time. They were 2 and 3 hour meetings.
What's your thoughts?
We're giving him, he's getting chicken feed, right?
Yeah, he, yeah.
If you remember, Sarah introduced the break to come forward with us on this. My fear is that I think you have a number of requests for information pending, right? Yeah.
Paula,
Yes,
Thurman asked those good questions, and I hate not missing them.
okay, what he is saying,
Farrah has a very
soft
soft
voice.
voice. And Farrah can't keep up with it.
Have you ever yelled, Thurman?
Yeah.
The DA on the table.
Tom, again, we can hold the discussion if you like until the end of the budget discussion, but I do think that one, he reduced his rate to work with us initially. I do think there's a possibility of having to use it more as we go into the future with this.
I would agree with that. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Okay, so I would suggest $5,000 more total budget, $15,000, see where we go.
Okay, can you hear me, Tom, if I'm talking this loud?
I barely can hear you, Sarah.
No.
Tell him it wasn't me.
Okay, I'm back. All right. Yeah, this is gonna be interesting Tuesday. Okay. Utilities, 4124010. You'll see that I do have two numbers here. The first number is if we have this side of the building like we currently have. The number on the right side, if possibly we get the health side. I know that they're hoping to be moving into their building before the fiscal year is over. So I'm hoping for the best.
So no decision yet.
No decision. But the Danville water, of course, is our water. And these numbers are based on the current year numbers and the previous year for the remainder of this year without knowing, and I increased it slightly based on the expenditures that have been coming in most recent. But the water bill for this building, 500, if we have next door, 800. Duke Energy, the office, 5,200 for this side, 8,000 for both sides. Duke Energy outside lights, we pay 100% of that, $800. Piedmont Gas, 2,200 for this side, 3,000 for both. And the sewer system, $1,300 for this side, 24,000 for both. So 2,400, I'm sorry, not 24,000, 2,400. So it's 10,000 for this side of the building, 15 for both sides.
Okay, did you say 1,500?
15,000.
Okay.
For both. And I could have said 15,000 for both. And again, that is contingent upon whether the county would allow us to have the other side of the building. Moving on to
What
4.
about trash? Pickup.
I've not been charged anything for trash pickup.
Don't make
You just did.
You just did.
Okay. 4124030 service maintenance. Our Cardex record system, which is the system behind the front desk where all of our records are stored. The maintenance on that, $683. Security system monitoring, $384. Voting equipment, and that's through ES&S, $34,744. Cleaning services of our office, $6,000. The panic button monitoring, $250. And then we have the annual maintenance for the security system at $1,762 for a total of $43,823.
Which is up from 37,317.
Because we have the security system now. And I don't know if the cleaning services was put in there last time or not. And then moving down to 4124310 building repair, and that's unexpected building repairs at 1,000. And we will talk about that a little bit later, where I've got some other items that may need to be moved in this, but I've been told to put it in here, then I've been told not to put it in there. So, but anyway, moving on, 4124320 equipment repair, that's unexpected equipment repairs at 1,000. Postage, 412-5010. That is postage to mail out absentees, office mailings, NCOA cards, voter registration cards, confirmation cards. And this is also for the general election mail outs and the general office mail at 12,000.
We have a postage meter.
No, everything goes to the governmental center, and they have someone comes in that does all the postage, and then we're told at the end of the month how much our postage costs. But we keep track of how much we actually send up there. Next item, 412-5015, printing. Absentee, and that's the the printing of the absentee ballots and the papers that go with the absentee ballots and the mail, the envelopes is $2,500. The ballots themselves, $25,000. Coding and layout, $6,000. And then the brochures, educational materials, manuals, office information, public requests, and voter cards, $6,500 for a total of $40,000. And I will let you know that the ballots and the coding and layout have increased considerably. And it may go up again. They're saying there is a shortage in paper. So, but anyway,
But now you're not changing the budget over what we had last time.
no,
No, it's the same.
no, it's the same.
I mean, looking at the two, they need to, but you aren't doing that,
I
okay?
am not, no, sir. Okay, moving on to 412-5020, general insurance that was provided by the county at $44,926. 412-5030, communications, that is the Cisco office phones at $900 a year. Long distance for our office phones at $100. We usually do not have long distance, but that we could have some. The cell phone allowance, for some reason, in last year's budget was included in salaries, and it should have actually been in communications. And that is this cell phone we're actually using today, and we use during elections, is $650 for the year at $1,650. Moving on to 412-5040, advertising. These are for the ads for the 2022 general election at $500. Miscellaneous notices for any changes, precinct moves, etc., $500. Required notices for the 2022 general election, $3,500. And those are those very long notices that are run 3 weeks prior to an election. And, but so the total is $4,500. The next item is 412-5065, dues, and these are association dues for the 3 staff members at $60. The next item, 412-5080, travel, and that is travel that's inside the county for presentations, public awareness events, voting locations at $200. We do have the county vehicles that we can use, but this is just in case we do not have access to a county vehicle.
Is this the place in the budget where this the place where we talk about meeting with the public to explain our voting process, dates, and all of that? Is this the educational portion?
Is the traveling?
Yeah.
That, as far as that expense, yes, but we would also have that, like the printing of information. It's in several different areas of getting that out. But it is for public awareness events. But I'm not gonna charge for using my personal vehicle. You know, I mean, but if Kathy or Wendy were to use their personal vehicle to do something like this, I would be interested.
My concern is that, given the possibility that we may have only one polling place for this primary, I would hope that we agree that we could get information out to the public about that change, and think that it would cost us way more than $200.
Oh, yes, and that would be out of the current budget that we have now instead of this one. But yes,
Going forward, don't forget, I
think
would like to do something about voter turnout.
voter turnout, I agree with you.
So you would like, for us to come back to this and kind of add something to it?
Which now we would be able, you know, this is only if we're using our personal vehicles.
Okay.
If we're using county vehicle, that is already included as an expense overall for the county.
Would it make any sense going forward? Would it make any sense to have a budget item for voter education, all of that, and bring all of these?
Well, these items are determined by finance. We could. Actually include that. Well, that could fall under communications as well as printing.
Okay.
So we could increase both of those line items. Okay. All right.
You got that? Did you get that, Tom?
No,
Um,
I'm not, I hear something in the background, but I'm not getting Thurman and someone else. I can't figure out. I think it may be Sarah that's just not coming through.
No, it is me. The question that was asked was if there were line items that could be increased to help promote voter turnout. And my suggestion was that it maybe go under printing and communications.
Yes, I understand. Okay.
All right, so moving on to 412-5083 board training. I did contact the State Board of Elections to find out how many conferences there will be in fiscal year 2022, 2023. And they are expecting to have one on-site conference that will be held in August of 2022, so that will be this year. And I've estimated $625 per board member for registration, hotel, and meals. And then mileage for the 5 board members for this one conference for a 200-mile radius at $117 per board member at $585 for a total of $3,710. They do have 3 sites in mind that they're looking at, so I took the furthest site away to get my number.
What sites you would consider for the
Concord, Winston, Greensboro, Raleigh. Concord, of course, being the furthest away.
What was that answer saying?
Want to know where the conferences may be held?
Right, okay, that's what I thought. So you're saying it could be in Winston?
Could be Winston, could be Concord, Raleigh,
If we
Or
get the
halfway.
closer one, we can avoid the hotel costs and the meal costs.
well, you'll still be in class all day.
Right,
So,
okay.
okay.
I
And
understand.
it is 2 nights, so you know,
Oh, okay.
it's a 3-day conference.
But we don't make choices where conferences go.
No, we don't make that choice, the state board does. They're making their decision between those 4 sites. So,
But they're gonna cover they would have just one conference for the
yes,
whole state?
yes,
Oh, okay. So everybody has to come to a single location, okay?
yes.
Understand.
Okay. All right, so moving on to 412-5085 staff training. Again, that's one conference, including the director, the senior deputy director, and the deputy director. And the IT technician, depends on what is on the agenda, but the IT technician has attended in the past. So figure the same amount of rate in that at the $625. And we would be able to use the county vehicle, that's why there's no gas fees there, for a total of $2,500. Moving on to 412-6010 general supplies, and this would be supplies for daily operations, the office, projects, events, get the information out, the Toshiba copier charges. But the first item, supplies for daily operations, projects, and events is $5,000, and the Toshiba copier charges at $7,000. So for a total of $12,000 for general supplies. The next item is 412-6023 precinct supplies. This is supplies for one-stop early voting sites, as well as election day precincts for the 2022 general election, 15 precincts at $3,000. So the total for the Board of Elections budget without any amendments for the fiscal year 2022-2023 year, without the Health Incorporated side, is $472,615, including the Health Incorporated side is $477,615. And then if you will look at the last page, I've included some capital outlay, and this is what I was talking about earlier, as far as building repairs. We do have gutters on the workshop that need to be repaired. I don't know how long, one of them's been damaged for years, from what I understand. And there is one on the front of this building as well that is pouring water. But, the estimate for that is $9,000. And there is roof repair that is needed on the workshop. The front half of the workshop is leaking. And that is estimated at $15,000. So we are asking for a capital outlay expenditure of $24,000. So if you add that to our total budget without the health side, is $496,615. With the health side, $501,615. And that, of course, is without any amendments to this proposal. Are there any questions?
what's the difference, have you figured the difference from our last budget?
I have trouble hearing you.
All right, she's asking what the difference is from our last budget. And that is,
It's about a 12% increase based on my calculations.
all right, our current, it's in his letter. Actually, it would have been easier if we just pull that out. Yep. $442,209 is our current fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. But let me tell you the differences in an election budget. Election budgets are, they have 4 different budgets. This year, the current year we're in, there was a municipal election and a primary election. Next fiscal year, the 2022-2023 budget has a general election. The year after that, the 2023-2024 will have a municipal election and a primary election for a presidential election. And then the following year, you will have a presidential election. So that's the differences. There are 4 different types of budget and each one is done differently. That's why when you receive your email, you receive the 2018-2019 budget as well as the current year budget. So you can see what the current expenditures were as far as regular activities, but as far as figuring for elections, you base it on every 4 years. Because every election is a little bit different. Every election year is different with the fiscal years. That makes sense. Okay.
Madam Chair, are we ready for questions and comments?
I think we are, if she's finished, we are.
I want to thank Paul for pulling this together and for presenting it, and it's really helpful because I think as a new member, this shares with me the various activities that maybe, well, certainly I didn't know. There's some suggestions I would make if we could prepare the documents. Well, first of all, I think I would recommend that we have a budget review session for the board, if anybody that wants to attend. But I would love to see the 2021-22 budget compared to what we've got here and look at the differences with some explanation as to why the director thinks we should be going up or down in the budget. That's educational. I think we need to know the current expenses for some of those items, but they're going to be different because this year is unique for next year as far as how many elections we're going to have, what have you. So I think all that would be a real educational for me. I've actually talked with Paul about maybe doing that for my benefit, but it may be beneficial to do it for the whole board.
Well, as far as the last year's budget, as far as justifications and breakdowns, a lot of that is not done. So some of it I can look at the minutes from March 22nd to try to gather that information. But some of it.
We probably have it by these various account numbers.
We do.
Account names. Okay. You're talking about the details below that. And I'm
Yes.
looking at just those, but I'm thinking more in terms of this is a great educational tool because this drives everything. Everything we're doing is going to
Yes, everything,
And we need to know, how much we're gonna be asking for and what are some of the bases for asking for that money. So I'm making that as a request, Madam Chairman, that, we ask Paula to set up a meeting for us to review the budget. And you said March 18th. We gotta have this thing ready by March 18th,
11.
11th. Okay,
That's what I thought.
That's what we just went through. She told us the new figures, and we should have had in front of us the 21-22 budget with the requested amount at that time and how much was recommended at that time. And what I did was, while she went through it, I checked off whether it was the same or not. And I put same beside the ones that were the same. And then in each one of the line items, she did say her reasons under each one of them. If on that page with the large print, she put all the information on that page, and so I just sort of went through and put same, or I put an up arrow if it went up, and I put a down arrow if it went down. That's just the way I do it. And whatever you need, or whatever the board needs, I don't know if we will need to do anything with them, because I think someone will let Paula know when she needs to talk with them about the budget. This is what has happened.
I'll do that with Paul. I was just thinking it would be respectful of her time if there were any others, if she wants to schedule it where we could all be there at the same time and hear it, or any of us who wanted it. Some of you are probably much more familiar with this tonight. This is a different process than I'm familiar with.
And certainly if everybody else wants to do that, it's fine. Board members
So
need to hear
I'll
from.
talk to Paula, as far as my time, she can tell me what she'd like to do.
Because we do have some things that we wanted to go back to. After she finished presenting to us, just then, I thought we had a few things that we were going back. I started a couple of things. Legal, we wanted to go back to that, although we said what we wanted to happen with that already. Communications and travel, I think, because we want to make sure that people are educated on getting voters to turn out. Is pretty much, if I remember correctly, if I started correctly, those were the only items that we need to go back and look at. Board members help me out if you mark anything else.
Or the miscellaneous professional.
Okay. So is that where you going at this point?
If we could.
Okay.
And
Board
then,
members, before we move on, do you have any other questions about what's on?
Are you starting from the top? Where are you starting from?
we're just the ones that they would like to go over.
Tom, are you talking about the board members and Paula, or someone else? I thought you mentioned having opening.
Well, anyone who, certainly the board, from a board member's point of view, I think it'd be helpful for us to really know what goes into this budget. And I understand from what Paula said, and this wasn't very educational, but it left a lot of questions. For example, we've got temporary, well, I'm not gonna get into that. There's too many questions that I've got that probably no one else cares about.
So are you looking for budget justification or an explanation of budgets?
Explanation as to why some of these went up 40%, some of them went down 31%.
Okay. Or don't we have to include some justification with the budget?
We did.
Okay. So you can explain those things in
Yeah.
No, I understand, but I think the town is looking for a written explanation.
Probably some of the other things.
Right. Yes.
Okay, was that all, Tom, or, well, Secretary Schofield?
I will wait for Paula to tell me what would be a good time for me to meet with her.
Okay,
I think we would have a problem if 3 or 4 of us or 5 of us want to get whether that would be an official meeting and we'd have to have it televised and all that stuff.
okay, all right, got it. All right, well, the one I wanted to ask the board about is the miscellaneous professional services, which is 4123010, which is on page 4, and I should have numbered these. Which is our live streaming. Do you agree with the special call meetings, as, you know, as far as requesting 3 additional? I mean, I just, no, I just want, I mean, if you think it needs to be more, it needs to be less, I mean, I'm just asking for your input.
What was that account number again?
4123010, it should be page 4. And it's not numbered, but it's got miscellaneous professional. It's at the very top. Okay.
So the special call meetings would revolve around elections, around the elections, is that correct? Or no?
It could be
Whatever
our
we want to
budget,
do.
it could be, you know, something that's come up that the board needs to meet outside of our regular schedule, and we would like for it to be live streamed instead of Zoom.
And would the place in which we would have the meeting be in a different place other than here? Because when you have Roy to come in a small place, he's gonna need enough room to do his normal.
Yeah, he would bring a camera. He could do it in this room.
On the camera and tripod.
Yes, I think what has been done in the past, they've set it
That
up
corner over there.
either in this corner, or they've been set up behind the counter, where they try to get more space. But, and if we, you know, if the room was available, the commissioner's chambers, you know, I could ask to see if that would be available. Normally, the call meetings, we have them here, but if it was something that we knew there would be a lot of people, then we could ask to see if, the commissioner's chamber was available.
That was kind of hard. I mean, you could do determine if it's special call meeting, correct?
Well, 2 of you can decide anytime you want a special call meeting, and you just have to let me know. I'll check my call, you that call and follow will contact me. And then we would, but she would be able to determine whether she thinks it's gonna be a longer meeting or not. So she can determine where it should be held and whether the community will come, you know, for it, that sort of thing.
So what's your opinion as to whether or not 3 is enough for you to need to have?
I think 3 is plenty, but I just know in our budget right now, you know, like today, it's not in our budget for this to be live stream. I mean, we're doing it through Zoom. Zoom is, I think it's about $15 a month to do the meeting. Some people like Zoom, some don't. But I was just saying, if this board wants to increase that budget, because right now it is $3,300. So we are limited at live streaming just our 12 regular meetings, which are once a month. just add, we may not need 3, but it's there if we do need it.
How many special call meetings have we had since July of last year? The point is that's when we started, and I am almost certain we had more than 3.
We have, but our absentee meetings, I wouldn't, and I'm not trying to be negative, but they lasted less than 30 minutes.
Right.
And I can't justify $275
Okay.
to live stream that. But this meeting, we've been in here for 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I could justify $275 for this to have been live stream.
So Paula, your question is, do we want to add 3 extra videos or not?
Yes, sir.
And add to the budget?
Yes,
And the
sir.
question really becomes, do we feel that it's necessary to make this as a public event where people don't have to attend? And I would say we don't have a choice. I mean, it's already being done by the county commissioners, the school board. And I think people expect it. I don't know how many people watch, but I would say that, and the extra meetings are usually got more, they have more meat in it than some of our regular meetings. Some more, detailed information that people may be interested in. That's my opinion.
Okay.
So board members, do we want to add 3?
Do we need to take it to a vote?
Member Hampton, do you have something you want to? I think all
I
of us.
just want to get a consensus
Yeah.
to whether to leave it in or to take it out. Okay.
So Tom, all of us have agreed that we will add the 3. If that's okay with you? I know you've already said that you thought it should happen, but I'm asking you again. The 4 of us have said that we agree that you should add the 3 and,
Yes, I fully agree.
thank you.
The next one is the legal expense. And
Our legal person will have to kind of talk to us about this one.
And I will actually call our attorney to see if he's anticipating an increase. And go from there, but I know that member Hampton had recommended 5 more thousand to be added.
Yeah. Think back to when we started this conversation, I suggested to you $300 an hour. I suggested to you that $300 an hour was really on the low side of what the lawyer would charge. This firm that's taking us on, they reduced the normal rate. I think we're gonna have more traffic, more use for us going forward. We're getting used to the idea of being able to use the lawyer to assist us in certain matters. And I think, I would almost bet that we're gonna see an increase in hours. It's gonna happen. So I would suggest, again, $5,000 to make this total line at $15,000.
I agree.
And
That's what I see, Tom.
Tom?
Madam Chairman, I certainly agree with that. I would, number one, we know that we didn't think this was going to be enough initially. And we do have other opportunities, I think, to use the legal services. I don't have a problem with that at all.
All right.
The printing, as far as getting the communication out to the public and communications, which is 2 pages after the legal, things at the very top of the page, and communications in the middle.
This page is, think about working on this.
What's the question?
As far as getting more voter turnout, getting more information out to the public.
Okay, so you increase this, amount $560 from the 21-22, right?
Printing actually for the fiscal year, current fiscal year is 40,000.
Okay, I'm just looking at under communications right now.
Communications, and the reason why communication is increased is they did not have the cell phone coverage in
Okay.
this line item. It was actually under salaries, the regular salaries line item.
But the actual amount that you're asking that we do is the same for printing. From 21
It is, it's exactly the same.
Everything's going up,
That's my thought.
and I'm sure the printing costs are going up too, or will go up if they haven't already, so I think that needs to be increased.
Can I ask a question before you do that? What have we already spent? Where are we right now as far as the money split? $30.
Right now, well, this is going to be as of June 20th. Printing expenses. And we're getting to our bulk. We have not spent our bulk yet. We have spent $6,837.60. The bulk of our printing is elections, the ballots. And if you'll add 25,000 to that takes us over the 30,000, which does, and that doesn't include the coding and the layout.
So the 40,000 is the increase, or?
It is not, it's the same.
Okay.
So remember, Todd, you asked him that we increase that?
Yes.
Do you have,
Maybe you have a better idea of what I'm asking for you to give us a figure.
Oh, are we still connected?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are, Tom, we're just deliberating.
Okay, I wasn't getting anything there, so I didn't know.
Yeah, the question is, are you on the printing budget?
On what budget?
4125015.
On printing, okay. I've got
Sarah?
that. We're not making any change, we haven't recommended any changes yet.
No.
That I made.
No, but I think the general mood is that we need to increase that by some number.
I do know that they have said that the paper costs have increased considerably. They're just not saying what, because there is a paper shortage. I really don't know what to expect when you say that. I mean, that's just like gasoline last week went up 18 cents. So, and from what was on the news last night, everybody has raised everything in every area is different.
But it's giving you more money.
Yes, because I know some had up to 67% increases. And, but it was as low as 32%. It just depends on which area you're looking at, but I don't know what to expect with the printing expenses. If, if you have a shortage, what are we supposed to do? If we
That's
can't get paper?
That's your primary issue,
Yes.
as I understand it, because having worked in corporate and even in my own business, you never know what it's gonna be. And now it's even more question marks out there. What will it be when this budget goes into place? The thing I will remind you of, they're gonna reduce it.
At some point.
So you need to go ahead and start pumping these numbers up and let the county come in and try to say something different. I think what I do is contact who does the purchasing at the county level and get categories of how much that they say it's up, and then go back and adjust each one of these numbers based on what that, how much is it up? It's up 50%, it's up 5%, it's up 20, 15, and just apply that to each one of these numbers here. And then you accomplish two things by that. You've proved to them that you've done the legwork to try to find out where you're gonna be. And you come out with, like, I like the way you've done it, but if you've got some, in the last 3, maybe 4 numbers on your budget, they go up at odd numbers, 862, 433, that kind of, they know you've done your homework.
Well, my other numbers too, but I rounded,
Yeah, I know you did, but,
just to make it.
yeah,
But now I will tell you, we're also talking about communications. The county is looking at a different phone system. So that could possibly change as far as what the yearly rate would be,
mhm.
but they're still in negotiations with that.
Well,
But,
that's the kind of thing you can't change,
right,
but when you got products you're purchasing
yes,
and you don't know what it's gonna be, you can determine to a certain extent advertising costs, like on the newspaper,
yes.
or whoever's gonna be printing people that have done your printing, call them and just ask them what the numbers are. I think the closer you get at, if I remember, I wrote down the number for the total from last year, what was the budget?
449.
442,209.
442, I mean, 442,000 rounded off. And you can see by the number you got in there, you're not, you're just $50,000 over. But is that gonna compensate us for where we gotta be when we go buying these things and the services and the whole ball of wax? I just think that maybe a little more in-depth and talking, and you should be able to get a good handle for purchasing. Paper,
Okay.
cost, stuff like that, to me, sounds like we'll be closer to our number because, they're gonna try to reduce it.
Oh, yes. Okay. I will look into that. All right.
Madam Chair,
And Member Cole, that was a great
I'm
suggestion.
not picking up all of Nelson's comments, but the ones I did, I really agree with. I think we're in a inflation spiral. We're probably gonna be feeding it a little bit because we're gonna try to anticipate cost increase. But I'm really concerned about the line items, building repair and equipment repair, communication, printing and advertising. All of those, we're subject to some significant fluctuations in what the cost could be. And those are things we can't do without. And we've got a lot of equipment, all of them. You were telling me about all the machines that we've got, the equipment repair could be significant. Of course, we've got backup machines. If we have one to go out, we don't have to fix every one of them, but we probably don't want to do that. I'm just concerned that we're below on some of these as far as estimating what it's going to really cost.
Okay.
Because we know how tough it is to go back and get more money.
Yes. All right, so you said building repair, equipment repair, advertising, printing.
And printing, those are the ones that we have very little control. We have control of the salaries, we have control of some of the other items. The health cost, Fica is a calculation. So they're we can get pretty close on those, but these
So do we want her to just go back and, look at those items that you just mentioned? Is everybody in agreement with that? And then you can, I don't know, where do we go from there? You just give it back to us.
I think Nelson's suggestion is a good one, that the people who are closest to purchasing can probably give us some insight.
Right. Submission of the budget is March 11th, right?
All right. So I will look at those. Are there any others that you would like for me to look at? Any other areas?
Then you got printing on there too.
Yes, ma'am.
A real question. The numbers you got in there for the conferences, did they give you those numbers?
No, I actually looked up hotels in
Yeah.
those areas and the mileage and what the
Well-
per diem is from the county for meals.
Well, Tom and I happen to be on, the board at the community college. They have spread our costs out if we want to attend that function. And Tom, I don't remember the date, but anyway, they put a registration fee for it. And then the meals are in addition to that in some cases.
Yes, the motel, the registration and the meals. I figured those differently, but I put a total amount
Yeah,
estimate, but yes.
okay.
you have to
I didn't know whether they
put
did it or not,
And
but
as well as mileage.
I'm talking about lunch. What was, one of them was Tom, I believe somewhere in the neighborhood of $60 in Raleigh.
I don't remember. You're talking about the registration fee?
Yeah, registration fee, and if
No,
you,
that's considerably more than that.
Yeah.
Because that's a fundraiser for the trustee.
no, I was talking about the meal, if you wanted the lunch, it was $65.
Okay, the meal, yeah, the meal's fine. I thought expensive as well.
Make it off the fee.
And
The
the hotels
breakfast for
in
$32.
Raleigh are terrible.
I did not figure that much. I will be honest with you.
Well, I don't know, where they're gonna have it in Raleigh,
I don't
if you're
know.
thinking.
It's Raleigh, Winston, Concord I don't know where. They're looking at 4 sites right now. They don't know which site they will
Okay.
decide on. They're trying to make the decision pretty quickly, but they have not made it as of yet.
It's true, well, we don't have any say on that, but I was gonna say, it certainly makes sense for the 5 board members to go to the locations rather than everybody to come from Manioga, Murphy, into Raleigh. But that's not our decision.
That's right, and we don't have to get.
Plus, it's gonna come out of our county's budget, not out of theirs.
That's right.
Okay,
Enough conversation. That's good.
Paula, let me ask you this. Do you use social media anyway right now?
We have not, we are going, that is our next step to actually do Facebook.
okay.
And I know some people do Twitter and Instagram and all that, but I know we're actually going to move forward with doing the Facebook page. I understand that's something that they had in the past, and a lot of citizens are asking for that again.
Would that be something that we would, if we decide to use social media to support our educational campaign, for example, would that be something that could come out of our budget? Or does the county have the budget for that?
The good thing is, that's free, yes. And Instagram and Twitter, they're all free.
Okay,
If we wanted to advertise with them now, they do charge for that.
well, that's what we're out
Yeah.
advertising.
But that would be throughout all of Facebook. It wouldn't be just for.
Do all over the
Rockingham
world.
County. Yeah,
Anybody.
And Rockingham County too.
They can't.
What was your question?
I thought that they could more or less target their
I do see things, like on my Facebook page,
Right.
I can make a decision on who I want to see my post or anything on my page.
But when you get these pop-up ads, you know, that are
You're paying
supposed
for
to.
that.
Yeah, you pay for that and everybody sees that.
Mhm.
Anybody on Facebook sees it.
But you can go in and say that you prefer not to see that ad again.
Right.
And another one come up in its place.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me somewhere, and I saw this, you know, we're sending out notices in the paper to notify people what we're doing. Most folks now are on their computer. And I think we have to figure out how to reach them, go where they are in order to be effective.
Okay.
So,
Okay, are we at a point where we have completed our two tasks for today? Board
You know,
members?
Want to think about when we'll reschedule for the budget, have a budget workshop or session.
What, to finish up what we've asked you to go.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, to finish up with what we've asked you to do. So are we needing another one?
Well, I think we would, once we get, I think we're looking for new information.
Yes.
Yeah, so I suppose as soon as you collect that information and make modifications, we should move.
Well, I think I'll leave it at all, as soon as she gets it together. Contact the chair and then see from there.
Are Tuesdays better for y'all? Or is there another? I mean, I know that we have a meeting Tuesday. So we have our regular scheduled meeting and.
This is good with me.
I mean, I just know some of you have cleared your calendars for Tuesdays and I just, okay.
Tom, did you hear that?
Say so about the meeting for the 15th.
Yes.
Yes, I've got that on my calendar. I'm planning to come. My phone doesn't like these phone meetings. I'm going to be in the next one. Okay.
So
You guys
actually,
may have to put up with it, but when is our next meeting? Oh,
Yeah,
that's going
that-
to be
that's
on
what-
the-
that's what the discussion was.
On the 15th.
Our next meeting, our next general meeting, scheduled meeting is the 15th, but I think member Cole said he wanted Paula to go on and find out the information that we asked her to do, and then she can let us know when we can come together again. She wanted to know if Tuesday was the day that we needed to look at, if everybody is okay with her scheduling a Tuesday. If we
I
have,
had personally blocked out Tuesdays for elections,
okay,
but we've got the boards, the state conference coming up on the 15th of March. But you said our deadline was the 11th of March to get this to the county commissioners.
so,
So
so Tom, is it okay if we just let her get back with us as soon as she works really fast? I can tell you.
yeah, absolutely.
She'll have that
I'll make
information,
every effort to be there.
right? And just let us know. I think it's the best way to handle that. So if all else is completed, I'd like to entertain a motion to.
I'm over here.
All right, it has been moved and properly second by member Cole, second by member Hampton, that we adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Opposers have the same right. We have adjourned at 12:40.